wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic Podcast. My name's Steve, coming to you from Conway, Arkansas, and this week we will look at the Enchiridion. Once again, we're going to look at chapters 21, 22, and 23 as we work our way through this very important handbook written by Arrian from the teachings of the slave-turned-philosopher Epictetus. This week we have a couple of points that Epictetus is going to make. One, that we need to remember that our stay here is only temporary, and we should not desire things beyond measure. We can't take it with us when we go. And that in order to be a philosopher, we have to set our own internal standards and live up to them, and not really worry about the standards that others try to put upon us. We have to stick to our plan. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to prove to ourselves that we are a philosopher and not worry about what the rest of the world thinks about us. Before we do that, I want to thank my patrons for supporting the podcast. Without your help, this show would not be possible. If you want to become a patron and get ad-free episodes, you can do so at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic, and you can find out more there. Chapter 21. Keep before your eyes from day to day death and exile, and all things that seem terrible, but death most of all. And then you will never set your thoughts on what is low, and will never desire anything beyond measure. Chapter 22. If you set your desire on philosophy, you must at once prepare to meet with ridicule and the jeers of many who will say, "Here he is again, turned philosopher. Where has he got those proud looks?" Nay, put on no proud looks, but hold fast to what seems best to you, in confidence that God has set you at this post. And remember that if you abide where you are, those who first laugh at you will one day admire you, and that if you give way to them, you will get doubly laughed at. Chapter 23. If it ever happen to you to be diverted to things outside, so that you desire to please another, know that you have lost your life's plan. Be content then always to be a philosopher. If you wish to be regarded as one too, show yourself that you are one, and you will be able to achieve it. The first bit of advice that Epictetus gives us here is to reflect on death and exile. Reflect on hardships. But most of all, he says, reflect on death. Death is the one inevitable thing that we know is coming. And why would we want to spend our time reflecting on this? Well, it helps to give us a fire behind us, right? We can't go back. We must press on forward, and we must do it quickly, or we know that all will be lost. We will have made very little difference with the little time we have. We have to press on, make use of what we have, and not desire too much. If we know that we have a certain amount of time to accomplish what we want to accomplish, then some things become unnecessary. We have to let go of the superfluous. We have to let things go that are not important. Perhaps that fancy new car or that new home or that diamond ring, whatever it is, isn't as important as we might have thought before we started to reflect on the shortness of life. He goes on to say in the next reading that if we take on the life of a philosopher, we will be laughed at. Of course, back in the Roman times, this may have been a much more serious thing to take on the role of philosopher. You might wear a certain kind of cloak and behave in a certain kind of way, but still, even now, if you mention, I study Stoicism, people will say, really? Why? And who knows what they say behind my back. But you will be judged. You will be critiqued. You will be mocked. But that's okay. This is about creating your own internal guidance system.
You rely on your own internal system to guide you. And even if people you know well tell you to do one thing, if you know that another thing is the right way to go, then you go in that direction. And that's very hard. And I fail at that quite a bit. I'll acknowledge that. It's part of growing, part of becoming more and more sage-like is that you are one with yourself. Your actions and your beliefs are solid. First thing you have to do is think about what it is. What is your philosophy and what do you truly think is right? Only by knowing that can you actually begin to act on it. A lot of Stoics online talk about how action is the important thing. Everything action, action, action. And I agree, action without action philosophy is meaningless, but you have to at first know what your principles are and know what you believe before you can act on them. So reflection is key here. He goes on to say that you must do what is best to you, right? So once again, you have to know what's best for you. And they will come around if they see you acting consistently and see that you're happy. That will be a massive reason for them to say, whoa, maybe we were wrong about this person. But he warns, if you say, I'm a philosopher and I believe in this, and then they mock you, and then you go, okay, I'll do what you want instead, and you change your mind, then they're going to mock you twice as hard. Because not only were you a silly philosopher, but you were also a hypocrite and changed your mind when peer pressure came around. That goes into the last reading where he says, don't try to please others. Once again, you have to have your own internal guidance system, and that's what we're working on here, what we should reflect on. But to be a philosopher means to have your own set of principles that you live up to, regardless of how popular they are, regardless of what your friends or former friends think of it. As long as your internal philosophy is based on reality and reason, right? And he says you must prove it to yourself that you're a philosopher. You might want others to see you as such, but you must live up to it and know it yourself. That's what you have the power to do. You have the power to know it yourself. And if you do live up to the task where you know in your heart, I am living the life of a philosopher. I have a set of ideals that I try to live up to in every situation, whether I'm by myself, whether I'm in public. And then you can say, I know I am a philosopher, and chances are the way you're living will be noticed by others, and they will stop laughing, and they will say, wow, there's something to this way that this person's living. Perhaps it's worth looking into. So, what's hard about this? Well, community and peer pressure are very difficult things, or knowing what to do in certain situations can be difficult. What is the best choice here? There's a lot of gray area, and we have to have a core set of principles at heart, and we have to make decisions, knowing that our decisions might fail, like our actions might fail, but we can't chastise ourselves by acting on those principles. We know, and we know that things will not always work out, so therefore, when we are thinking about reflecting on our day, we have to remember that we make the best choices that we can with the information we have. Maybe that information is incomplete and therefore something doesn't work out. But we're doing the best we can. Now, where we fail is when we do what we're not sure is right, what's convenient, what others say we should do when we tell them about a situation, even though we're not convinced that that's the right thing to do. That's where we start to fail. And it's something that we do all the time, most likely, right? Unless you are really good at this and are becoming a philosopher or well down the road of living up to your own internal system of right and wrong and guidance. And I don't mean like a wildly different sense of right and wrong from the culture around us, but I mean there will be decisions you have to make that your family may not like, or that your friends may not like, because you believe it's the right thing to do based on virtue. And that will be, that could be hard, because once again, they will judge you, as he says. They may laugh at you. But if you live consistency from day to day, from moment to moment, suddenly you build an entire life of virtue rather than just single decisions, and they connect together, making a eudaimonic, well-lived life. And the only way to do that is to put priority on what time we have. Remember, we're not here long, and we have to get going now, or we will run out of time. Speaking of being out of time, I'm about at the 10-minute mark. I don't know if anyone would want to listen to anything much longer than that. But thank you for listening. Thank you for keeping up with the podcast. And shoot me an email, sundaystoic@gmail.com. Pick up a Sunday Stoic coin on Etsy. I can put a link to that in the show description. You can carry it in your pocket to remind you of your principles if you wish. Bear in mind, I have probably like 25 or 30 left, and I'm not going to make any more once these are done. This is not a business I'm starting. This is just something I made for my patrons and for the listeners out there. So, thanks again, and seize the day. Remember to work on labeling as accurately and concisely as possible what your principles are, and try to see if you can live up to them moment to moment, regardless of how popular they are. Seize the day. Carpe diem.
Thank you for listening to the Sunday Stoic. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review the Sunday Stoic on iTunes. Become a member of the Sunday Stoic team, earn rewards, and be an integral part of the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Contact the show by emailing sundaystoic@gmail.com or by leaving a voicemail at 501-503-3132. To find out more, visit www.sundaystoicpodcast.com. And as Steve always says, carpe diem.